Am I in the Twilight Zone or did this really just happen? Questions asked and answered.
By openly talking about doing things to incur pain on the American people to influence the midterm elections, what mechanisms are there in place that could make that bite Canada in the ass?
Openly admitting that retaliatory trade policies are designed to inflict economic pain on American voters, specifically to influence a federal election, crosses a massive legal and diplomatic red line. It transforms a standard economic dispute into an act of foreign election interference, handing the U.S. executive branch the legal justification to use national security tools rather than just trade tools. Here are the specific mechanisms the U.S. administration could deploy in response. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Under this act, the U.S. President can declare a national emergency in response to an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security or foreign policy of the United States. Foreign election interference is one of the most legally sound justifications for invoking this act. It grants the president sweeping, immediate powers to freeze Canadian assets, block financial transactions, and halt commerce without waiting for congressional approval. Election interference sanctions. The U.S. has strict frameworks, including laws like the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, designed to punish foreign entities that meddle in U.S. political processes. If Canadian officials publicly state their intent to influence the midterms, the U.S. Treasury and State Department could legally designate them as foreign actors attempting to undermine U.S. democratic institutions. This opens the door to severe, targeted financial sanctions against Canadian government institutions, crown corporations, or specific political figures. Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. This statute allows the United States Trade Representative to impose severe sanctions and tariffs on foreign countries that engage in unjustifiable, unreasonable, or discriminatory acts that burden American commerce. Leveraging trade mechanisms specifically for political extortion easily meets the legal threshold for an unreasonable and unjustifiable act, granting the administration broad authority to escalate tariffs across all Canadian export sectors. Termination of trade agreements. Admitting to election interference provides the U.S. administration with the ultimate political and legal cover to completely terminate the North American trade agreement. The U.S. could issue the required 6-month withdrawal notice, arguing that Canada is acting as a hostile political actor rather than a good-faith economic partner, effectively expelling Canada from the integrated free trade zone. Stating the strategy out loud is a severe miscalculation. While countries routinely use retaliatory tariffs to pressure foreign domestic politics quietly, explicitly announcing the intent to sway an American election weaponizes the issue. It guarantees bipartisan anger in Washington, as no U.S. politician from either party can afford to be seen capitulating to a foreign government openly attempting to manipulate American voters.
Has this line already been crossed? And if not, how close are we to it?
The line has already been crossed directly and loudly by Ontario Premier Doug Ford as of yesterday. While federal leaders like Prime Minister Mark Carney and Industry Minister Melanie Joly have been slightly more diplomatic, framing the retaliatory tariffs as a movement of resistance designed to stand up for Canadian sovereignty, Doug Ford has explicitly abandoned the subtext. When speaking in Stony Creek yesterday, Ford openly stated that his message to Americans in the upcoming U.S. midterm elections is, "Don't vote in a person that's going to kill your jobs." He followed this by saying he supports the tactic of retaliatory tariffs specifically because they could help turn Americans against the current U.S. administration's trade policy. He framed this as a necessary cost of war, urging Canadians to withstand the domestic economic pain in order to inflict political pain on the U.S. side. This is a massive strategic blunder for several reasons. It provides the U.S. administration with undeniable video and audio evidence of a high-ranking Canadian leader admitting that their trade policy is actively designed to interfere with American domestic elections. It legally justifies the U.S. escalating from standard trade dispute tools, like Section 338 of the Tariff Act, to emergency national security tools, as foreign election interference is a clear trigger for sweeping executive action. It alienates potential Democratic allies in border states, Even American politicians who oppose the current administration's tariffs cannot publicly defend Canada if Canadian officials are openly bragging about manipulating American voters. It forces a unified, bipartisan backlash in Washington. While the federal government in Ottawa is the entity actually levying the tariffs, having the leader of Canada's most populous and industrialized province openly admit the strategy out loud completely strips away the defense that these tariffs are simply a proportional economic response.
Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a great day.